Are you tired of answering the question, when are the grandkids coming? Hi there, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Saira, the show where I answer your questions about personal growth, relationships, and mental health. Today's question comes from Elvira. Elvira says, I have been married for 2 years. In my family, having kids is seen as the required ingredient to complete our family unit. My husband and I aren't sure we even want kids, and we're both on the same page about that. How can I communicate this to our families so they will stop asking us, when is our grandchild arriving? P.S. We both have strong, opinionated moms who aren't going to back down easily. Elvira says, I have been married for 2 years. In my family, having kids is seen as the required ingredient to complete our family unit. My husband and I aren't sure we even want kids, and we're both on the same page about that. How can I communicate this to our families so they will stop asking us, when is our grandchild arriving? P.S. We both have strong, opinionated moms who aren't going to back down easily. This is a challenging question, and I don't know that there's an easy answer for this question. I don't know that there's kind of a just do this and you'll be able to get through to them. I don't think there is. But there are some considerations that I want to have you think about as you're navigating this journey of when are the kids coming in and the expectations for from your extended family or from your family elders to the life that you're living. So the three things I want to talk about with you today, Elvira, and whoever else is watching, is generational expectations, tolerating discomfort, and changing others and changing yourself. So let's start with generational expectations. Depending on your family story, so where the family comes from, the values that it brings with, into each generation, what things symbolize and mean, the kind of hidden underground culture of the family, all of those things will influence expectations that are kind of passed down through generation to generation. And so one thing to think about or to wonder is, what is the generational expectation around being a parent or having children? An example might be, I know for my family, my parents left the place that their place of origin, and they came to another country. And what they tell us and what they tell others is for our kids to have a better life, right? And so in that framework, it's my kids are my motivator to have a better life. And so then the question under that is, well, what motivates you if you don't have children then? Right? Because for that generation, that's what motivated them to come to this better life. That's just one example. But maybe think about, what are some of the stories that the family has about being a parent and having children? Because that will kind of clarify to you some of where the question is coming from, right? What is it that they're really trying to say? Well, what they're really trying to say is, when are the grandkids coming? But what else are they trying to ask you, right? For example, I've heard in my family, people have said things like, being a parent is the most fulfilling job there is. I have a certain family member that says that. And so for that person, if you're not a parent, then how are you fulfilled? Right? So, and that will be different for you and your family, but just getting curious about what values are underneath the expectation of having children. And know that as generations change, the values will evolve and change as well. And so you might be the trailblazer in your family of the couple that actually doesn't have children. And that will be a challenging path, because anytime we do something differently than the family's been doing it for generations, there will be resistance, right? Because everyone's doing it a certain way and you're not doing it that way. So there may be a journey ahead of you as you kind of navigate this. If you do decide not to have children, as a couple, then how to navigate that new way of being that the family is really not used to. They don't really fit in the expectations of the family. Now, if you're not the first couple in your family to choose not to have children, then you have a mentorship opportunity, right? Then you have a place where you might put your heads together with that couple and kind of see, how did they do it? What worked for them as far as blazing the trail for not having children, and you might get some really interesting insight by connecting with the other family members that have already walked this journey. So that's the first piece, is being aware that it's not just about you and your husband. You fit into a longer story of the family, an older story of the family. And so understanding that story can help take some of the edge out of the question, right? So that would be the first thing I would say. Second, I want to talk to you for a moment about discomfort. Now, one of the things that's really hard for most of us is being around a loved one who's in pain in any way or who's not at their best self. So, um, whether that be that they're angry, that they're unhappy, that they're disappointed, it's hard to be around. And especially if you feel like you're the cause of that, it can be very difficult to be around, and to have to sit in that discomfort of somebody else being upset with you or somebody else judging you, right? Um, However, being able to sit in discomfort, our own discomfort and the discomfort of others, is such a gift to our families. I want to share with you a story about sitting with discomfort. So when my stepfather was at the end of his life, he knew he was dying, and he knew that he had very, very limited time left. He was still conscious. And so there was a period of time before he came home and he passed away at home. Period of time he was at the hospital. And during that hospital stay, there was a lot of people trying to make him feel better, trying to, like some of the things that they were saying were not even really accurate, and they were trying to give him hope. And he sat through that. He sat through all of that. What I did with him, with my dad, my stepdad, is I came to the hospital early every day, and we would have some time, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, where it was just us. And he got to feel his feelings. He got to talk about how angry he was, how frustrated he was, how sad he was, how disappointed he was. And it was the place that he could actually get some of that out, because in the rest of the context, he was trying to be strong and trying to, really not wanting to make anyone else uncomfortable with him dying, which is so weird if you think about it. What was neat about that, and the reason that worked for us, was because I was able to sit and hold that for him. It wasn't easy. I wept many of those mornings. We wept together, right? But being able to sit with him and not try to fix it, and not try to make him feel better, and not try to solve a problem that is unsolvable, just sitting together and feeling with him, feeling, in the same space as him, and not trying to change his experience, was so, so valuable for him. So in your case, Elvira, and anybody else who's watching, are you able to sit with these family members who are unhappy, right? Who might be disappointed, who might be judging you? Are you able to be uncomfortable and manage that discomfort? Most of us, when emotions come up, we want to, okay, let me back up. So because we're social mammals, we'll tend to attune to the people around us. So if whoever has the strongest emotional presence, most of us will attune to that person, unless you've really, really done your work, which some people have, where you're not really affected by other people, or if you're a sociopath. That's another context. I'm sure you're not. But unless you've done that, most of us will attune to the strongest emotional energy in our space. Now, what that means is when somebody's angry with me, it's going to activate me. It's going to impact me, right? That's just how we're designed. And it's a good design, because it keeps the social group cohesive, and it keeps us connected to each other. The challenge is that if you get kind of sucked into that feeling state, nothing changes, right? You stay at status quo as a family, because certain people who have the stronger personalities get to kind of dictate what the rest of the family experiences. And that, it happens, but it's not necessarily how it doesn't sound like that's how you want to live. You want to make different choices and not be as impacted. So tolerating discomfort. Most of us want to push down those emotions when they come up, because somebody's going through something. We want to push it down, or we want to throw it away. It's like, they're handing you this hot potato of their discomfort, their emotional discomfort, and you want to throw it to someone else, or, just get rid of it somehow. What's required is for us to actually sit with that hot potato and feel it in our hands, right? Maybe throw it around a bit while it cools off, but hold it and start to just be with it. It's hard to do. It requires that you're in touch and willing to feel your own emotions, your own discomfort. which many people aren't. So that, but if you could work on that, if you could kind of practice that, being in the presence of others when they're uncomfortable and practicing being with them and not defending yourself or fixing it or changing it, but just sitting with it. We call that, one of my teachers calls that standing in the sacred fire. You just let it burn, also knowing that it's not about you, right? It's about them and their expectations and the life they see for you. So that would be the second one, distress tolerance. The final thought I have around this, and I'm sure I'll have many, many more thoughts as I ponder this question even more over the next few weeks, is change, right? If you've ever worked with me, come to a workshop as a client or watch these videos, you know that I say, and many, many therapists will say, you cannot change other people. Right? We cannot change as much as it would be helpful to them if we change them, as much as they need to change. We cannot change other people. Change is an inside job. It has to come from within. It has to, in any arena of personal growth. And so rather than trying to change them, right? Rather than trying to change their story of children are the missing ingredient to family, rather than trying to change that, to actually start looking internally and saying, why does that trigger me so much? Why does that get under my skin so bad? And it might be because there's actually a part of you that also believes that, right? That over the years you've heard this messaging and there's a part of you that says, yeah, maybe if we're wrong, what if we're wrong? What if we should be having children, right? Or there might be a part of you that that really, really wants to please your parents, right? Really, really wants to make them proud of you. And you know that this is something that they're expecting of you that you don't want to do, and that might not make them proud of you. So going internally and figuring out what is it about this particular statement that gets under my skin? And how can I shift that? How can I change that? So in the examples I gave, right, that maybe we should have kids, maybe that question, maybe just so coming to terms with the fact that, yeah, there's a part of me that will always wonder. There's a part of me that will always wonder whether I made the right decision. And for most of us, we carry that part, the part that always wonders, like, did we do the right thing when we made this decision? Did we, make the right choice? That's a natural thing. And so coming to terms with that can help when other people are coming at you with your own doubt, right? Help with your own doubt. Another that, that internal change about making my parents proud of me, right? That can I live a fulfilled life knowing that my parents might not be proud of me? And this is really especially difficult for people who come from cultures where filial relationship, family relationships, and especially relationship with parents is very elevated and sacred. And you want your family to feel good about you, and that helps you feel good about yourself. So you may have to kind of start to unlearn some of that and learn to sit in, there are going to be things about me that they're not proud of. Even though I'm proud of them, they're not going to see it the way I see it. And just coming to terms with that and learning to accept that you have different values, you have different ideas of what's a successful family, and they're not going to change. What you can change is your responses to them when they bring it up. So that's the change piece. Practically speaking, when you go into a room and the family members are there, well, what do you do? So I want to give you a couple of tips. And this is not like therapy, but hopefully it comes from pranic healing, and it might help as a practical tool when you come into the room. So some of you might have heard me talk about the golden ball of light. This is a pranic healing concept, and many other energy systems talk about this concept. So when I enter, before I go, say if there's a family function, okay? Before I get there, I want to picture those loved ones and send them my love, send them my connection, my sweetness. My mom says it's like little tiny pink hearts, you visualize pink hearts going to them. And that's kind of energetically clearing your own stuff with them, your own defensiveness, your own stickiness around that person who asked that question. And if it's all of them, send love to all of them. The second thing you can do is when you get to the room where they are, or you're in the car about to go in, or however you're getting there, you can imagine around you this golden ball of light, right? And the idea is this golden ball of light allows in only what makes you feel balanced, only what enhances you. Anything that's not enhancing you just melts into the light. And that visual right? If you can hold that visual of being surrounded in this golden ball of light, the only thing that penetrates is what enhances you. Now you're deciding that certain things, I'm not going to let certain things get to me. I'm just not going to allow it to get to me, to get in. And it takes practice. Like, it's something that you kind of have to do a few times, many times, before you can actually feel good. But trying this attempt of the golden ball of light, and just being really thoughtful about, no, that's not going to get in. If it's getting in, that tells me that there's a button in me that I still haven't resolved. And then I want to look at that button, right? Maybe after the event. And you can do that through journaling. You can do that through talking it out to somebody who values both you and these loved ones. There's different ways you can do it. But these are some ideas of how to practically be in the space when people are bombarding you with these questions. The thing not to do, which a lot of us do, is start explaining yourself or getting defensive or giving reasons. Because when somebody has a belief, your reasons don't make sense to them. They will see holes in all of your reasons, even though they make sense to you. So you don't have to, many people try that, like, oh, these are the reasons we don't want to do it, but they're not going to get that anyway, right? So I would say to minimize that sort of a response, and think about what would be a sentence that I'd want to say that could kind of, derail, change the direction of the conversation. It might be something like, yeah, I hear you. You want to be grandparents. Hopefully that'll happen for you someday with one of us, right? There's different ways to kind of diffuse it, but you'll have to come up with your own words around acknowledging what they're saying, but also letting them know that it's not really for you, in a way that's respectful, right? And in a way that keeps cohesion in the family. So those are my thoughts about your question, Elvira. It is a difficult question with not a clear one answer, but hopefully some of these thoughts have helped you kind of as you navigate this journey, because it's not going to just stop today, right? This question, if you're not having children, will likely come for many years. And even as you're older, why did you never have children, right? So just knowing that this is something that will come because of those generational expectations. Hopefully that was helpful. Please feel free to pass it along, and look around the channel. Ask Dr. Saira. Ask Dr. Saira's are this particular show, but there's other shows on this channel. So look around and like, subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.